business. It's business time. Hang tight, we're gonna get into the business right here in a couple minutes. Baby, baby. It's business. It's business time. All right, we are here with week 27 of It's Business Time, joined today by Nataki Oliver of The Sold Firm.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me,
It's
Aaron.
Business Time. Absolutely.
Why did I do that?
What's that?
Thank you, Aaron.
Well, I mean, we talked a little bit before the interview.
Yeah.
And so, like, you know, it's like we've been longtime friends now.
I
at
think
this
so,
point.
yeah.
Nice. Well, I'm excited. You know, the way that we linked up, the business that you've got, I'm very excited to get into it. Real quick before we get rolling, I do always like to give a quick shout out to Stitch House Brewery for having us.
Absolutely.
They're right here on Market Street. They always have 12 beers on tap. I'm actually currently drinking the Pills, Run for the Pills. Very, very flavorful 4.6%er.
I'm not a beer person.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't mess with the high alcohol stuff on a Wednesday. It's too long of a week. But so I'm always looking for a lot of flavor without, you know,
The heaviness.
all the craziness.
Okay,
But,
okay.
So thanks to Stitch House for having us. Come through, food and drink. But with that, we are rolling.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you again so much for joining us. Nataki Oliver. I love saying
You
that.
like saying it?
It's like an action move. So the way we linked up was very, very cool. A past guest, Sarah Crawford.
Yes. Shout out to Sarah.
Yeah, shout out to Sarah Crawford, Marketplace Gallery, Blondie Mansion, all the good stuff.
All the good stuff.
And she linked us up on Facebook, and then there was a little crisscross, a little
Right.
talking, you know, as it goes, and here we are.
Yeah.
And this is very, very fun because we don't know each other very well. You know, this was the first time we met.
Right.
And so I get to come in blind to your journey as an entrepreneur, as an owner of an art gallery, and everything. So to kind of keep things in, you know, a little bit organized in my brain, I like to kind of start from the beginning.
Okay.
Right? So what were you doing before you launched the Sold Firm? What was kind of going through your mind? So real quick too, just to give you a little idea of this series, you know, this is largely for new entrepreneurs, people who are thinking about branching out, who are thinking about doing things like what you've done.
Okay.
And maybe they're scared or they're not sure when to start, and anything they can learn from you is going to give them that leg up when they kind of start that journey.
Got it.
So that's a lot of like, what were you doing beforehand, and then what kind of happened in your mind and your life to say, you know what, it's time for me to do this. It's time for me to buy the gallery, set up the brand, and get rolling. So
I had no plans on coming back from New York.
Okay.
I was in New York up until the recession hit.
Okay.
My world was...
The most recent recession or 2008?
2008.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes. The official one.
Yeah,
the one that shut us down.
The
doom, that one. So I had no plans on coming back to Delaware. That wasn't the goal. That wasn't the plan. I had set up my roots there and was looking to stay and run with the fashion world, within the advertising world. That's where I was.
Okay.
Recession hit. Customers and clients got nervous, and the world just shut down.
Yeah.
So ultimately, I had to come back to Delaware.
Right.
When I came
Is this
back,
where you grew up? Did you grow up around
I grew up here.
Gotcha.
I grew up between Southbridge and Eastside.
Okay, gotcha.
And Dola.
Yep.
So I came back, and it was just like, at that point, it's like a dog-eat-dog world. You just got to work, right?
Yeah.
So I just was working. I worked down the port of Wilmington. I worked at Amazon. I mean, I worked all kinds of places.
Yeah.
A print company. It was just like wherever, right?
Yeah.
But I also knew that there was something bigger. And I didn't really know what that was. So I have an amazing degree from the top design fashion school in the world, FIT. Shout out to FIT.
Yeah.
And doing that, it meant nothing here.
Right.
Like, I was going place. I had all the credentials, all the background, career, and everything. All that didn't matter. Nobody cared.
Right.
And it was just like, okay, now I got to pivot.
Right.
So while working, I lost a couple jobs, and also I was raising my son. And through that, my son started a small business at the Mr. Lemonade. He had a lemonade company.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so he was at the Blue Rocks, and I helped him build that.
Oh, neat. What year was this?
Yeah,
That sounds familiar.
he was pretty big.
Yeah. Well, because I worked alongside some people who worked for the Blue Rocks.
Yeah.
Never worked formally, but,
In connection with it.
Yeah, and I remember Mr. Lemonade.
Mr. Lemonade.
Wow.
So it was very organic, and I wasn't really, my money wasn't coming in, and he's used to getting everything he wanted, his only child, and I was just like, well, I could just show you what you need to do.
Right.
And so wheels started turning. I helped him.
Wow.
Helping him started getting my wheels to turning as to what my future should look like, right?
Yep.
So I then worked where I am now. I have a full-time job. And while I was there, even then, it was still like, I got to do more.
Yeah.
So what I was doing on Instagram, this is what prepped me. I knew, based on what's happening here, nobody was really into fashion in Delaware, Wilmington, or whatever. But I also knew that if I paired the fashion world with some art, because I've learned art history and the background of those type of things, if I pair those two together and start talking about it on social media, it may get wheels turning.
Right.
And that's what happened.
Yeah.
So I started doing that. And then it started being a thing. And then people started reaching out to me, and we started having conversations. And then I realized, okay, it's bigger than just fashion and style. I'm leaning more towards my art history background now.
Yeah.
And I started diving more into it. And as I did it, it started me to realize what I really wanted to do. Like, I started honing in on what that really looks like. Artists, visual artists started to reach out to me because I was having these conversations on Instagram.
Right. Yep.
And those conversations started to be, Nataki, can you help me? And I'm like, I guess,
Yeah.
So, like, let's see.
Right.
So I would have meetings, and we would discuss it, and to my surprise, I was running off the information that they needed to grow. So I was managing a couple artists, probably like 2016, 2017. And from there, one artist, he did not know how to price his artwork. Seven God didn't know how to price his artwork, and I don't even know. I don't even know if he had that name yet. But I went to his house. He invited me to the house. He was like, Nataki, I got all this artwork. He had been like underground for some years and discovered his talent. And I taught him how to price it. And I said, okay, I'm going to buy some pieces tonight. I bought like 4 pieces. And I told him, don't you ever, that was good.
Right.
But now that you sold art, don't go any lower than that.
Right. Yeah, you've set the market rate.
You set the market rate.
Yeah.
And from that, he's like, I need you to help me curate my first show. I hadn't curated a show yet.
Okay.
I knew
And
how.
what year was this?
This was like 2016, 2017, something
Gotcha.
that.
Yep.
And I literally, Aaron, started telling people and manifesting, I want to be an art dealer. I started saying it. Like you said my name a million times a day.
Yeah. Don't tell anybody. That's
But I
behind the
started-
scenes. Yeah.
But I started manifesting it. And
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
saying it like all the
Right,
time.
right.
All the time. And
Right.
it just started happening. It literally started happening. And when I curated Seven's first show, everything sold.
Yeah. Wow.
And even it was like a bidding war of like, some pieces, and that was the start. That was
Yeah.
like, okay, you're on to something, girl. You
Right,
got this. And how I got from there to the gallery,
Right.
those artists that were reaching out to me had been telling me they couldn't get in bigger institutions.
Right.
And I started like, well, what does that look like? How? What do you mean? I'm started diving and asking questions. So I decided I'm going to do a little research. Let me see if it's true. Maybe it's true. I don't know. And what I realized, it was true.
Yeah.
Super talented artists here. One part, the artists just want to create. That's one part.
Yep.
But aside from that, they had blocks that were stopping them from getting into these institutions.
Right.
And so for me, it was like, okay, I tried to help them get into some of these institutions, and I could see the block, and I can write proposals. So I said, okay, well, then I'm going to open my own gallery.
Yeah.
And then be very inclusive and decide the talent that should be in there and help them get to the next step.
Got you. Wow, I love
Yeah.
that. So you hit on a couple things that are reoccurring themes when we talk about small business and entrepreneurship. Of course, the manifestation.
The
right?
manifestation.
You have to believe in yourself.
You
like
do.
you've got to be your biggest fan. You know, particularly like not everybody's parents can step in. You know, we try and be very transparent. Like most businesses can't get off the ground without
Right.
friends and family.
Right.
So we understand that that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
But ultimately, like, if you're not your biggest fan, who is going to be? Who do you expect to be?
Right, right.
So I love the manifestation, but you've kind of walked us up to one of the biggest moments in many small business ideas, which is transferring a low cost, or I shouldn't say low cost, but basically like, you know, lower, what's the overhead
Yes.
of not owning a gallery or a space or having a mortgage or rent or parking and all that type of stuff, and then transferring into the brick and mortar.
Yes.
Right. For some people, that looks like a back-end shop where they know they have to spend certain fees on Shopify and all that.
True.
For others, that's a physical location.
Yeah.
And that's a big, big step in a lot of small business owners. I love talking to the people who are making online sales and they're eyeing up that shop. You know?
Right.
But can you tell us a little bit about the process of when you said, like, did you have money saved up?
From this to this, right? From that to that.
From that to that.
Right.
That little, because that's a really hard piece for
It
a lot
is.
of new
It
business
is.
owners.
I will say that initially the gallery was online.
Okay.
Initially it was.
Yeah.
So it was, I built my own website.
Here, while we're there, is this the same website?
The same one.
What's the website? Let's give it a little.
TheSoldFirm.com.
TheSoldFirm.com. Make sure to check it out.
And it was like when I first did the website, it was trash. It was
Yeah.
really trash. You know what I'm saying?
We've
But
all
I
been
was
there.
like,
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to do it. It's
Yep.
going to take me 20 weeks.
Yep.
And I think it took me forever. And I
Yeah.
like progressively learned how to do it. But it was literally the gallery was online.
Yeah.
And I was working it like that.
Right.
It was the artists had different pages and it was specific to what they, you know,
Okay,
their
yeah.
different genres. And in between that, where I'm at now used to be Artist Ave Station on Tatnall Street. And
Okay.
they were transitioning into new business opportunities. My son, Mr. Lemonade, was actually he actually had his little mini station in there like years ago when he was doing it.
Right.
And so because we had like a rapport, me and Jason and John had a rapport from back then, they literally reached out to me. Like literally it was not the goal to have a brick and mortar because I was okay with the website,
Right.
honestly.
Right. Yeah.
And they reached out to me and said, hey, Nataki, we see what you're doing and you're doing a good job. We champion you. We're not doing anything with the space. Would you like to have your gallery in a brick and mortar? And I was just like, I don't know, like that wasn't the plan.
Yeah,
it really
yeah.
wasn't the plan. And I, sat on it, thought about it. We met, and initially it was the Sold Firm within Artist Ave. That was like the first step, right, to get my feet wet, right?
Right.
And what I realized is that was too conflicting. It was too confusing for my market, from my customers. They're like, where are you at? Where are you at? You at? So it was 20. So I did that for a year. I opened the gallery in 2019, right? The combined effort. 2020 during COVID is when the conversation was, let's move away from the joint, and I just wanted to be the Sold Firm.
Yeah.
In 2020 October is when it was no longer,
Gotcha.
and I opened the door officially to Sold Firm.
What was, and it's okay not to share this because oftentimes these situations are not the easiest, but what was it like kind of separating those brands? Was it amicable?
It was very, because they really were over it. They were like over it, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was, me helping, me being in there was to kind of keep it going.
Right.
but they
okay.
didn't have the time,
Right.
and it
right.
really wasn't beneficial for them anymore.
Okay.
So it was cool. It was just like, okay, yeah, go ahead, Nataki. We're okay with it. I was
Yeah.
already running with it.
Right.
I just needed them to say,
That's beautiful. That's awesome.
yeah, it was definitely not a bad situation at all.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
but no, I do believe there are situations that
Yeah,
get a little sketchy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I see it now and then where it's like one person's running and someone says they're
They're
running
not ready.
next to them, but they're actually riding alongside because they're trying to put a bridle on. 'em.
Right.
You know,
right,
they're
right.
trying to be like tame the horse or whatever, and that can create a lot of resentment and issues, and
Yeah.
sometimes lawyers get involved and all
Yeah.
all that stuff. But thankfully, it sounds like it was
It was
a
good.
smooth transition.
It really was.
For you.
It really
That's
was.
great.
It really was.
That's great.
So yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to ask. So what is this? Is this the same location you're in now?
Same location.
And then what is the address?
800B North Tatnall Street.
800B North Tatnall Street.
Yep.
And people can you post your events and things
Yes.
like that. And
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes, and we I have.
I mean, that was an obvious question. Of course, you post your events, but I was getting to what are your operating hours?
I
and
got
then,
you.
And then as a gallery, though, it's probably generally when you're having a show.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
gotcha.
And then if it's not when I'm having a show, it's when people want to book private viewings.
Okay.
So I have
Gotcha.
options for private viewings. So it's general admission exhibits, and
Gotcha.
then private viewings when they're I have some clients who enjoy that. So
Yeah.
I do that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so this you set out on your own brand 2000.
22 was when it was strictly
2022.
the Sold Firm.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So
Yeah.
tell us. Tell us a little bit. So you're on your own. It's 2022. Were there any moments that you were like, I've made a terrible mistake? I don't know. I'm too busy. I don't know what. Was there anything that really kind of hit you in a way where you said, because you seem like someone who's very well put together, who makes plans before action. A lot of entrepreneurs, they kind of run so fast they trip over their own feet sometimes. And the reason I ask is not to expose that one bad moment.
I'm going to answer it, but go ahead.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I didn't realize. Yeah. I was stalling to give you a chance to think, because But yeah, so a lot of it is for those who are thinking about doing something similar, or thinking about brick and mortar, or thinking about separating their brands, things like that. If they can learn something from your experience in doing that. You already have an answer, so I'm gonna shut up now.
I would say literally that moment happened last year for me.
Okay.
It was up until last year I started feeling burnout.
Yeah.
Last year I was just
Yeah.
because I'm a one person army.
Yeah.
Which I don't mind. I do pull people when it needs to happen.
Right.
But for the most part, I'm a one person army.
Yeah.
But I felt the crunch last year, and that's when I started something else. It was a journey. I don't know if you heard the term soft girl era. Have you heard that?
Soft girl era. I don't think I've heard it outside of looking through your media.
Okay. All right.
I've looked through your whole Instagram, so I saw some soft
seen a
girl
little
era
bit,
stuff.
okay.
Yeah, but no, I'm not familiar.
So it was probably 2022-ish, right?
Okay, yeah.
I don't know. It was just a lot of pressure. I noticed that my communication was super harsh, and I needed to will some things back in. I needed to get myself
You mean the way
together.
you were communicating with others?
In general,
In
yeah,
general.
just
Gotcha. That's some good
just
self-awareness,
abrasive,
though. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it was very abrasive. Even my son was like, "Woo, lady!"
Yeah.
I mean, I come from a rough neighborhood, so that's there.
Right.
But it was coming across everywhere.
You're carrying a chip on the
Right.
shoulder.
That's what it felt like,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So I had to will it back in, and I started this soft girl era that has been around, but I think maybe
Okay.
3-4 years ago, Black women have really jumped into it, and it's more
Yeah.
of relaxing
Yeah.
and enjoying life, and
that.
not letting everything weigh on your shoulders. Take the vacations, change the way you communicate,
Right.
and less stress. So I
Right.
started taking on that, and
You
I
don't
started
have to fight every battle type.
that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I do.
And so it was definitely an eye-opening moment for me, and I realized that I couldn't do everything on my own. So I started bringing women around me who are creatives, and we started talking about what are we going through, and I started a whole group of them. We're still friends today, and we're still on this soft girl era journey. But that at that moment, during that, and I'm still like making sure I stay within that that era and live that life.
Yeah.
But last year, well, 2022 is when I realized I hit a brick wall.
Yeah.
And the stress was happening, and I was at that moment like, am I doing this the right way?
Yeah.
Do I need to pull back?
Right.
And last year I did pull back.
Yeah.
Last year I pulled back, and for the first 6 months of the year, I didn't do any exhibits. I didn't, but I had other partnerships that I was working with.
Right.
So it never seemed like I wasn't doing anything.
Right.
I just pulled back on the most stressful part of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I didn't even have any exhibits until like the last 6 months of last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, they beat themselves up because they want things to go really, really well, and they don't want to do it unless they know it can go really, really well.
Yeah.
Especially in a small market like Delaware, right? If you do a couple not so great events,
it circulates.
Yeah, it circulates quickly. People start to worry about
Yeah,
it too.
right.
They're like, why are they even doing this?
Right,
if it's not,
right.
Working. But yeah, I don't want to dive too much into this is about you, but the soft girl era concept, that was a big turning point in my life too. I spent my 20s believing everyone was against me. There were haters, right? I hate that term, haters. Has gone a long way.
Yeah,
Remember,
it got
like
legs.
10 years ago?
It got legs now.
Everybody was like, "Oh, my haters, they're gonna learn. They're gonna see."
Now it's the ops.
Yeah, the ops.
Now
right.
it's the ops.
and I kind of realized that 99% of that was in my head. I was like creating this image that the world wanted to hold me down because it helped me work harder, and my motivation was coming from a negative space, and I had to break down the ego. Be like, nobody's worried about you. Yeah, nobody's thinking about you. Nobody, I had to break down the ego to rebuild motivation from a positive space, and it was a journey. It took years. So I love that that concept, and kind of like the, when you're carrying so many things on your shoulders, if you can just take one thing off, it makes all the rest lighter. You walk farther, you have more time in your day, you're kinder to people,
you are,
all those things, and then the manifestation just starts to roll
it does
in.
It does. And then on top of that, like that exhibiting break allowed me to but plan for other things that I'm doing like this year. You know what I'm saying? So it freed my mind to open it to other things where I was so focused on that one thing that I'm going to do anyway. Yeah. But plan it out further so that I can breathe a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got you. So we talked a little bit about your journey before we started talking. I know you mentioned like helping, develop or manage. Here's a million words to phrase it. Some artists and things like that.
Yeah.
Oftentimes when people are like starting out, there's a whole buffet. You're not really sure where your strengths are and things like that. But let's fast forward now where we're at today.
Right.
So you own the gallery. You're the proprietor. What is like your, if someone was like, oh, what do you do? And they're an ideal person to work with you. Well, what does that look like? That's an artist who's looking for curation, for...
Well, I will say...
I like where this is going. Licked your lips and got serious. All right, I will say. I like this.
I don't have the capacity. I got to say it the right way.
Yeah.
I don't have the capacity to manage or develop artists.
Right, okay.
Right?
Yep.
So I got to make that real clear.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
However, what I do, I'm a gallerist.
Right, okay.
Owner and a gallerist.
Yep.
And my purpose is to amplify the voices of visual artists locally.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Got you. So the local artists, they're looking to have their art put
Exhibited.
In a gallery, exhibited. Obviously, too, you can't help but give them some advice, right?
Oh, no, for sure,
along
for
the
sure.
way. Yeah. And then, so if that's the case, and they want to reach out to you, like now we've come to the how can people find you portion.
Sure.
They want to reach out. What's the best way to find you? Email, website,
The
Instagram?
best way, there's two ways. Instagram DM is very helpful.
Okay. And then your Instagram,
My Instagram is The Sold Firm.
The Sold Firm.
And if you need to reach me through email, it's Nataki at The Sold Firm.
Nataki at The Sold Firm.
Yeah, so
Easy
either
to
way,
remember.
and what I tell artists, if they're looking to exhibit, make sure that you are clear what your vision is, right? Because I am selective. I'm selective because I've done so much. I've seen a lot of art.
Yeah.
I haven't seen all of it, but I've seen a lot. I've traveled and I've seen art around the world, right?
Yeah.
But there are certain areas of art that I see here, and it's repetitive. You know.
Yeah.
And repetitive is not, to me, pushing yourself.
Yeah.
And I like to see artists who do something different.
Right.
It's refreshing. I may not have ever seen it, but the public may have never seen it, you know. And can I build a story around it?
Yeah.
So I look for stuff that's I'm very selective. I am. But even if I don't think it's a good fit for the Soul Firm, I will never ever diminish the light of an artist.
Yeah.
I will always encourage them.
Yep.
And I will even share their information with other galleries and say, hey, try this gallery. Try all three of those.
Yeah, a lot of people, particularly from outside the city, and realistically, a lot of people who even grew up here, they don't realize how many different outlets there are.
No, for
how many
real.
different galleries, how many different museums, and all that there are just in this little
Nook,
area. In this nook. So I like that, the selective part. It's like, a lot of small businesses, they'll use the term, we're a boutique, right?
Yes.
And that means there's specific stuff that they're very, very good at. And if you fall below that purview, they'll recommend you to someone who is starting out. If you fall above that purview, they'll recommend you to, a professional who helps them handle the bigger stuff.
Right.
But I love that, and I feel like that's a lot of the strength of our market here in Wilmington, is that it can be so custom, and for the right artist, for the right person, you can put a lot of weight behind that.
You can.
Community-wise.
You can. Shout out to Jay Street. He said something the other day, and I said, oh, I like that. He said, Nataki has a micro gallery. I said, oh, I like that.
Okay,
right?
yeah, like a microcosm.
Right?
Yeah,
I was like, I
micro-gallery.
like that. Because I always will say like an intimate boutique, Soho feel.
Right,
even that.
right.
But
Yep.
when he said, I said, I like micro gallery.
That's cool, yeah. And micro is like a trending word right now. You got micro green,
Yes.
microcosm. Yep, I like it. Micro gallery.
I like that.
Nataki, it has been awesome to have you here. People know how to find you. I love this journey. I feel like, there's a lot of questions I'm going to ask you off camera. But before we get going, is there anything else you wanted to add here? Because this,
Yeah, for sure.
Please.
So, speaking about the soft girl era, last year I was tapped with the Delaware Contemporary to exhibit there, curate an exhibit there with the director there, which is Leslie Schaefer.
Okay.
And that was the first soft girl era exhibit. That was Act 1. So Act 1 was my story through several artists that I selected.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that was Soft Girl Era Act 1.
At one, yeah.
Act 1. So Act 2 was artist by the name of Elize. She was at the Soul Firm.
Okay.
And her exhibit was Liberation.
Okay.
So she was Soft Girl Era Act 2. That ended in February.
Got you.
Now up next is Act 3.
Got you.
Act 3 is Authenticity by Shantae Young Williams.
Okay.
Her exhibit is going to be at the Soul Firm April 5th,
Okay.
it's going to be on the Art Loop.
Yep.
Opens on the Art Loop.
So that's a Friday.
That's a Friday.
Yep.
Yeah, first Friday, April. And dually, see, this is the crazy stuff I do, Aaron.
I like it. I like it.
So I will be also dually, Shantae, she's Act 3. She'll be at the Soul Firm.
Okay.
Erica, which is Elize, Liberation runs back at Chris White Gallery the same night. Act 2 and Act 3 are going to be going on at the same time, April 5th.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Very neat. And so for further details, they can find all those at thesoldfirm.com.
Yep, or Instagram,
Or
IG,
Instagram,
Facebook, The Sold Firm.
all
Yep.
that stuff. So it's going to be easy for people to find it, but April 5th.
April 5th. Yeah, bring your earphones. It's going to be interactive.
Oh, okay.
Well, she's a digital artist. She's amazing. Both of them are they are incredible.
I mean, just in this short time we've been talking, when you say blank's amazing, because of the selective nature, because of the micro gallery, because of that, I really feel that, right? I've been in music and marketing my whole life. I'm not allowed to say anything but, oh, you haven't seen that artist? They're amazing, right? So the word amazing gets used a lot. But with you, I feel like it carries a lot more weight.
For real, yeah. I hope so. I hope so.
Well, it does with me. That's so cool. So April 5th.
April 5th.
Is Act 2 and 3.
Act 2 and 3 at the Soul Firm and Chris White Gallery.
And Chris White Gallery.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, you heard it here. We got Nataki Oliver, week 27 on It's Business Time. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. You know where to find her. Reach out. It's so great to have somebody on who is so intimately involved with the arts and music scene. You know, we've had a bunch of musicians, other artists. Of course, Sarah came through.
Yes.
And, you know, I love the scope of what this area has to offer both culturally and
it's rich.
Business-wise. It's very rich.
Yeah,
But
it is.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
This
Aaron.
is
I
great.
appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. That does it for week 27 of It's Business Time. I want to thank Nataki Oliver again for coming through, and we will see y'all next time. It's business.